Welcome to episode 100 of Broad Street Hustle. We finally made it. As we've been talking about now for weeks and weeks, we finally got to the 100 mark. And as Broad Street Hustle hits the century mark, we're going to open with the show of the crew reminiscing about some of their favorite moments or shows of the pod. We're going to move into the Phillies, maybe do a quick chat on the Sixers. Then we're going to jump into the pick 4 at Keeneland that ends with the Bluegrass. We're going to talk Wood Memorial at Aqueduct and finish with Santa Anita Derby on the West Coast at Santa Anita. Action-packed show, so I'm going to jump right into it. We got a good lineup for you tonight. So I got our regulars, Jason Sayeda.
Hey, Tom. What's going on?
Hello. We got Jimmy the Chalk.
Beat the over-under of 15 I had for the number of episodes this podcast would last.
We got, who was a special guest for, maybe he remembers the first episode he's on. I don't, but maybe it's part of his memories. But now he's a regular, Christopher Michael Meeker.
What's up, guys?
And for the 100th episode, we had a dust off the closet, bring out the big guns. His scouting report says he can catch anything, but runs like his feet are stuck in molasses. Formerly wore number 25, but he's the number one guest for our first 100 episodes, the legend Jimmy D.
It's a privilege, guys. I'm glad you've done your homework, it's a privilege
I had
to
some
be back on the 100.
insiders.
It's really nice. You guys do a great job.
Well, let's jump. I'll kick it off real quick, and I'll be brief. For me, the just a little memory is honestly, my favorite shows are the golf shows. I really enjoy the golf shows a lot. I don't know. I just like talking about golf. It's different than, what you hear usually when you're talking Phillies and sports in general. So the golf shows are my favorite. But my absolute best memories are definitely the guests that we have on. And I can go through the list of guests, but I just enjoy, with all the technical issues that every time Walt is on, he's frozen. He does about 1 minute, and then he's frozen. I could go on. I could do 15 shows on Della Rocca. I mean, if I had
Has there been a guest that hasn't had technical
issues? We had the horse guy, Jimmy Scully. He couldn't even get in.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Kevin's usually pretty solid. We'll have Kevin next week for the Masters. His
Pitts. I think Pitts was okay.
Pitts was okay. Yeah, he was the one I thought of that had no issues.
Walt. We never know what face Walt's going to make where he's frozen, but it's usually dynamite. So that's for me is the moments, because every show is great, but it's the funny moments like that really get me. Jason, how about yourself?
Yeah, I agree. I like the big golf shows. We started with Chris. He did a great job. Now we have Kevin. He does a great job also. So they're always up there for me. I also like the big horse shows. Like the Derby, the Triple Crown, Saratoga, Jimmy D. When Jimmy D's on, I'm excited. I love having Jimmy on. So, and then the Scully, like you said, the Scully episode I thought it was great, and he crushed it, if I remember correctly, right? He really I think he won 5 out of 6 races or whatever. But I think the shows I look forward to the most are like the season previews for baseball and football,
the future bets and stuff,
bets and stuff. Yeah, they're the ones. I like you said, I like them all. I especially like the horse and golf shows, but I like those season preview shows a lot.
Chalky, how about you? First 100.
So I compiled some pod stats. Not to steal Jason's thunder, as he usually tracks this kind of stuff, but Meeker's first episode was episode number 2 as a guest. Tommy had a COVID bout that knocked him out for episodes 2 and 3 of the revived podcast. And actually, the first with the start of this particular podcast, it got to weeks episode 7 and 8 before we had 2 consecutive panels that were exactly the same. And I was still a guest at that time. I think episode 10 was my.
A little behind the show for you guys. Chalky was originally scheduled as a guest. Me and Jason quickly realized we had no ability to edit a show, to put a show on any type of form. So we had to call on Chalky to do it. And to the point where he said, you know what? You got to just be part of the show.
But
as I said to my wife, I said, if this thing goes past episode 10, I'm probably going to end up being a regular panelist, if not, or whatever. And it was about episode 10, I think, when it was the guest label was taken off. The most appearances, obviously the host, but Jason is 98 out of 100 counting tonight, so that is the most. Jimmy D is the most frequent guest, not counting myself or Meeker when we were guests. The sport most frequently talked about, NFL, because that's like half the year when you consider playoffs. Second, baseball. Third, horse racing. Sixers were not even as close as I thought with that. But some favorite episodes for me, the Saratoga experience, which was Jimmy's first appearance, was a good one. And really, for me, a lot of them are the ones where we've gone beyond what was actually like happening that day, and we talked about some of the stuff in the past. So the Phillies going into the World Series was one of my favorite ones, talking about being at the Game 5 with Harper's home run, and the two misery episodes were fun to look back on. And then the one time when it was just me, Tommy, and Meeker, and we sort of just threw a bunch of different topics out there. So ad hoc, those are some of my favorite ones for sure. But we got to 100, and that's the first 100 is the hardest, so we should be good from this point on.
How about you, Meeker?
Yeah, anytime I can get Jason riled up is my favorite episode. So anytime I can get him mad and talking about something and cursing me out, whatever he has to do, that's
every episode.
I mean, honestly, the pick segment is probably is up there as our best segment, because that's the one that's like,
But the ones that stick in my mind are, like Chalky said, Phil's going into the World Series, and then last year, Phil's going into the NLCS. Phillies obviously are my favorite team of any sport. So anytime we talk about Phillies, it always gets me going. And all the preview shows like Jason was he was talking about, because I always like looking back at what we all predicted, and finding out whether or not it actually happened or didn't happen, so you can tell your buddy that you were right or you're wrong. But it's been a fun ride through the 100, and hopefully we go another 100. And I always love D's on. He's my favorite guest for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
So we had a World Series and a Super Bowl, right? But lost. No championship since we've been doing the podcast. That's not too bad. I mean, 2 appearances.
Yeah.
Jimmy D, on the episodes you've have done or episodes you've listened to?
Tommy, I'll say this about the Broad Street Hustle, and I alluded to this before, and I mean this. I listen to this podcast every week, and I know you guys banter about, and you kind of kill Chris, and Chris, if I'm not mistaken, ate you up with the final picks in football. But I have to say this. You guys, of all the podcasts that I listen to, and I listen to a few of them, some of them are just bullshit, but this particular podcast, these players on this podcast do the most research that I've seen of any podcast that I know of. Not one of these guys who come in, Tommy, Jason, Chalky, or Chris, come in without a little background information to support their arguments. They've looked up information. It's key to their defining whatever statements they want to make. And I'll tell you what, a lot of times it's helped me to not just in a gambling sense, but it helped me to realize, what was going on in a particular sport at that moment with a particular team. I give you guys a lot of credit. The only question I want to pose, and I'll pose this to Chalky since he was starting the stats. Can you tell me, Chalky, the most watched episodes? What guests would have been on during your most watched episodes?
I think
so
I know.
Technically, I did look this up. So technically, me, because I was a guest on episode 1, and that's still the most downloaded. But I believe number 2 is the Saratoga Experience episode, followed by by Meeker's first appearance. I think were the top 3.
YouTube. When did we get the YouTube?
I did not look up the YouTube views. I did not go over to YouTube. This is just the audio downloads, if you will.
I would say we're on YouTube about a year now. Probably like
it's been longer than that. I think we went on just right after the Super Bowl when the Eagles played the Chiefs. So I can look that up while in the background. But a lot of the good moments, and I didn't bring it up before, but a lot of the best moments made the cutting room floor because we had to remove some things due to language and other stuff. But it's been an entertaining time, and if you watch us on YouTube, you can see where some of the cuts are made where I'm just too lazy to try to put a piece of film over it, and but. But there's no more popular guest than yourself, Jim. So
Absolutely.
I was just baiting you for that, my friend. That's all. That's
all right.
Just
happy
playing.
To fall for the trap.
Well, you know what, Jim? It's appropriate since WrestleMania is in town, because finally Jimmy D has come back to the Broad Street Hustle.
I just watched the clip where The Rock was like going late to his, I guess, whatever he's doing, and he said he was watching Jalen Hurts blow the Super Bowl or something. That's why he was on YouTube. That's why he was late. So yeah, I guess he's playing
a bad guy now. Is that why?
I guess he's playing the bad guy. I'm assuming. So it was kind of fun.
Final boss.
All right, well let's jump into the actual episode 100, the content. It was fun going back and down memory lane, but let's jump into the first week of the Phils, and it's almost like we're watching last year's first week of the Phils and the prior year before that. Jason, initial thoughts? Take it where you want.
Yep, it's another pathetic start. Basically, it's been a continuation of that horrible Arizona series for Nola, for Castellanos, and for Turner. Like, to me, they're the three guys who are on my shit list right now. I'm sure I said it back when Nola was up in the air to come back. I don't know. I'm not sure why, they brought Nola back, to be honest with you, because he didn't look really good last year at all, and I think he cost them the Arizona series, and then Castellanos as well. Like, why is he back? Why is he back? Like, I don't know.
Because nobody else wanted his contract. I think that's the answer.
I guess you're probably right about that. Now, Turner, my thing with Turner is he should play for the last 3 weeks of spring training. He needs to play every game and every inning, because he starts the season like he's not ready to play. So, like, something's got to change with that, because he looks terrible. Like, he comes up for at-bats now, and I don't have any confidence he's going to do anything in the at-bat. Like, he's immediately down 0-2, just like he was doing last year. And
he swings at that first pitch, like, almost every at-bat.
All the time. I mean, they must have, I don't know, hopefully they don't have a book on him now where, like, they know he's just chasing balls that are down and away. But year after year, it's a pathetic start for the Phillies. It's a slow start, and they're in a division with a team that you can't start slow or you have no chance of winning the division. And, I mean, I know it's only 6 games into the season, but they're 2-4 now. I mean, for them to lose to the Reds, that series, I mean, come on. That's a bad series loss. Should never happen. I kind of blame Thompson a little bit last night, too, because you're down 3-1. Nobody pitched the night before. None of your bullpen pitched. Why are you putting clowns in like Nelson? You're off today. Why not put Dominguez or somebody like that into the game last night to keep it 3-1 so you have a chance in the 9th inning? Like, I don't know. I didn't like the way he managed.
I mean, he manages the early part of the season like it's the early part of the season. Like, and he even said, who was it? Soda. He's like, I'm not pitching him 3 games in a row early in the season. In August, I would, but right now, I'm not doing that. It's like he doesn't care about these games.
I don't get it. Like they had nobody who pitched the night before because Pinto pitched 4 innings, right? And you're off today. Why can't Strom or Dominguez pitch last night? I don't get it.
Yeah, Chalky. First impressions here.
I mean, I don't really have much other than, I joked around last week and said, I'll start watching it in May and, obviously watch. But I'm not going to get, unless they really, really go bad, I'm not going to get too wound up until May with this team. Look, the pitching has not been good, more so in the bullpen than the starters, but they're 2-4. I think the Reds are a better team than maybe Jason was giving them a little credit for, but they have some very winnable series coming up, including the Pirates, who I knew started 5-0, but I don't buy that they're going to be that good. So if they're, coming out of May or going into May at, 13-16 or whatever, I'll worry a little bit, but you're a game behind the Braves. You got plenty of time to get right. I'm not going to worry about it right now. It's not even about
worrying, though. It's just about, like, we watch these games, every single game we watch. You know, it's not football, so they don't mean as much. But we watch every single game, and the product and the at-bats and the pitch, they don't deserve us to watch some of these games the way they perform.
No,
it's just not right as a fan.
I mean, Jason hit on the head. It's like watching those games at the end of the year.
Yeah, not make the playoffs. No, they're going to make, but it don't matter. They still need to be better. They have to.
No, they do. And like if they're winning 10-0, I might be more inclined to watch the games. But if they're going to finish 500 in April, I'm not going to want to watch it, and I'm not going to worry either. So it's like we've seen this before, which I guess gives me, confidence that they'll be fine come July. But it's not the start you want to see.
But it's none. It's everything they said in the off season. JT went to some hitting school. He doesn't do that leg kick. He does the leg kick. He does the exact same swing he had last year. Cassiano, he doesn't chase those balls anymore. He chases every single ball. Turner's defense is still terrible. Man. It's the same thing that we've watched last year. They're doing the same thing this year. And are they going to figure it out and get fine? But we still deserve to a better product.
They're a better team than they're playing.
Right, and they play like it's early on, and they don't care about these games as much. And then when they start,
the defense has been very disappointing. There's been more errors than I'm expecting from these guys, and the base running has been sloppy. I mean, I'll give them no breaks on that for sure. But
Meeker.
Oh boy. So let's start with Castellanos. So I heard a stat today that Nick Castellanos is in the lowest 10, whatever you want to call it, the chase rate. His chase rate is top 10 worst in baseball. I heard that stat.
I'm not surprised.
Not surprised at all. Trey Turner. I have said this a million times. This guy is never ahead in the count. Never. I mean, the ball needs to be like 3 feet outside if it's a pitch he's not going to swing at. Guy barely walks, and he's one of the fastest players in the league. Why don't you use the fact that you're one of the fastest players in the league to get on base, and walk a few times instead of trying to hit home runs? And his swing is extremely long. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but it seems like he's just trying to kill every pitch instead of just putting the bat.
He looks like the end of the Arizona series, like Jason said. That's exactly what he looks like.
I think he got into that home run, swing like somewhere around August, July last year. And, he was connecting, and, he had right after that standing ovation, he became who we thought he was going to be, but he's kind of now going digressing back into what he was before all that happened, with the same pace and pitches, with the same long swing, with the same defense that's been bad. And I know this is only 1 week, but the issue is, and what Jason has said is, like, these things, and you said it, Tommy, have not changed. Castellanos is still swinging at bad pitches. Turner is still not using what makes him a good baseball player. Their defense has been suspect. The bullpen hasn't been good. The starting pitching is the only bright light that I've seen so far in the first 6 games. We did get a pretty good outing out of Suarez and Sanchez, and Turnbull, actually, for that. So the bullpen hasn't been good. But, my biggest thing with the Phillies, and I've said this and texted Jason about this a million times, there are stuff that you learn when you play Little League Baseball that you should be able to do as a pro that they do not do. First and second, was there no outs or one out?
No
outs. A tie game, and they don't move a base runner.
That was Harper in that one game. Harper hit a ball and a fly ball to the opposite field on like the first or second pitch.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Like, as a team, I'm not even pointing out Castellanos or Turner in this statement. I'm saying as a team, there is situational baseball where it's like baseball 101. You have first and second with no outs and a tie game. Move the runner somehow. I don't care how you do it. Move the runner. And they don't do that. And then they run into a try and double steal, and he gets picked off of second base. I mean, I was just like flabbergasted by the things that hurt this team in close games. Because, if you make these kind of mistakes in big games, in a playoff game, these are the things that will come back to haunt you. They do these things constantly. When I watch these games, it just drives me up a wall about how just normal baseball 101 things they just do not do well. And I hope, they get it together, and I think they will. I mean, they're talented enough to be able to make the playoffs and, make a run at it like they have in the last 2 years. And I know Jimmy D is going to talk about one of my favorite players, Johan Rojas, here. But, the bottom line is that the Phillies sacrificed defense for offense. I mean, They decided not to sign Rhys Hoskins. Instead, they decided, okay, we're going to let him walk. Rojas is going to play center field. If they did sign Rhys Hoskins, Marsh would probably play center field. They would have kept Harper in right and would have put Castellanos in left. Well, is that going to hurt us this year because we don't have that bat in the lineup? Because Thompson has to manage this game now like there's a pitcher batting ninth. That's exactly how he has to manage now. You got to pinch hit for him in the 7th or 8th inning, which sacrifices your late inning defense, because this game will find you coming up in spots, and then he's gonna have to make a move at that point, right? So what good is it to have the guy playing 5 or 6 innings when you need defense in the latter part of the game? Doesn't make sense. I know, Jimmy D, you want to talk about that, so I want to steal your thunder. Go ahead.
Well, you guys really hit it on the head. Last year about this time, I made a prediction on this podcast that the Phillies would wind up approximately 500 baseball team. I was wrong. They won 90 games, but they proceeded to play 500 like baseball in the playoffs. But the one thing I will clarify, to make my own excuse, is against the Marlins, Mets, Nationals, and Braves, their own in the East, they were 26-26, exactly as I predicted. I'm a great Phillies fan, but you guys are hitting it on the head. Johan Rojas, Chris. Johan Rojas. Here's a guy who's 1 for 14. This is 4 for 24 that I'm speaking about this. 1 for 14, 3 strikeouts, 0 balls hit out of the infield. 0 game-saving catches. And this is why he's there. And he's been picked off once when he was put in for a pinch runner. I don't know how you can have that as a starting center fielder on any Major League Baseball team. And if that's not enough of a test, he batted 38 times in spring training and hit 8 balls out of the infield. This guy is not even going to get near the Mendoza line. I don't know who likes him and why they like him, but he has been a monumental failure. And he, along with the guys you mentioned, cost the Phillies the Arizona series that they were in command of and should have won last year. And that was a perfect opportunity with the Braves out of there. You knocked them out. And then the Dodgers out of there, which was a gift to get, and you don't take advantage of that. It's so frustrating as a lifelong Phillies fan. It's amazing. And just take another minor point. 2 points I'll make, and I'll send it back to you. You've got a guy like Wheeler. He gets 32 starts in a year. Well, now he's had 2. And he's 0-1. And he's pitched fabulously.
Yep.
Well, as we count them down, he's your horse. He doesn't get 15 to 17 to 18 wins. You got a problem. You got a real problem. Now, let me just give my next point, because it's the day after what I considered an absolute deplorable decision by the Philadelphia Phillies organization. How they could play that baseball game yesterday in a driving rainstorm and cancel it for 4 and 5 hours, depending on how you're looking at it, because it was originally scheduled for 1, then for 4, then they played 6 or 7 or whatever the hell they played. But the people that had to come down, and most of their fans are coming from the suburbs, had to come in a pouring rainstorm, had to wait for 4 hours, and go home in a pouring rainstorm. If that's fan-friendly, they can stick their fan appreciation days up there behind. That's ridiculous. They don't even want to give you a hot dog for free no more down there. That's ridiculous. Like, that causes some sort of chaos and catastrophe. But I thought that was totally disrespectful, what they did to their fan base yesterday by playing that game after an excessive rain delay. It's early in the season. They could have played Cincinnati in Cincinnati if it was necessary. And the way these two teams are playing, Lord, oh Lord, it won't be necessary.
Yeah, I mean, the Phillies might have. I'm assuming they're going to give people another game from last night, is my guess, because then the Orioles just did that the other day.
I think they do, Tom. I think they do, but they're going to have to also give them, the doctor bill that they're going to have to pay for their cold and the virus that they get.
Yeah, there was only probably about 5,000 people that was stuck around for the game. Yeah, I mean, everything. I think you guys kind of hit everything when it comes to the Phillies. To me, it's Trey Turner, because we talked about it last year. Is When he got hot last year, that's when they started that's when the Phillies made their he's your 2-hitter, right? You know what Schwarber's going to do. You know what Harper's going to do. He's the one that's got to get, he either hits behind Schwarber, he's on base for Harper. He has power at times. So when he doesn't go, I feel like the team struggles. And another guy, and I don't blame him, but Bohm, he's not a 4-hitter to protect Harper. I just don't see how he's your protection for Harper. He's a good player. He's a good hitter. He has very little power for a third baseman. And he doesn't protect Harper. I think that's what they're missing more than anything. Castellanos, they tried, I guess, was it last year or the year before he did it? But, we saw what that is. So in the trade deadline, to me, that's what they need to improve on is that guy. Because if games are coming down the Rojas winning games for you, your lineup has issues because the guys you have 1 through 7, 1 through 8, you shouldn't need Rojas with the players that you have. They're the guys that are the problem, and let Rojas play the defense. Now, I agree, just having an out is not good either, but it's the other guys.
I wouldn't mind it if Rojas could slap the ball.
His swing, Meeker talks about a long swing. His swing is ridiculously long.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Put the ball in play and just run. That's all you need to do. Get the ball on the ground and run. That's what Vince Coleman used to do.
Yeah, I don't understand. But it's almost like they just kept his swing. He needs to shorten that swing up and make better contact
hitter.
Kind of a weird, not theory is not the word I want to use, but just an idea. I wouldn't hit him 9th. I would probably hit him 8th and hit Marsh 9th if that's what you want to do. Only because if Schwarber's coming up in big situations, for RBI situations, whoever's hitting behind him has got to be on base. Maybe just have a better hitter hitting behind Schwarber, so he has more opportunities at RBIs than hitting. I wouldn't want him in the lineup at all. But if you're stuck with him in the lineup, then maybe hit him 8th instead of 9th.
I would also move Turner down. I would put Stott 2nd because Stott's a better hitter than Turner right now. He just is. Turner's killing him up in the top of the lineup right now. Until he gets better, move him down to 6th or 7th.
Yeah, and that's something Thompson doesn't do is he kind of sticks with the same lineup. He's not big,
Well, they moved Turner down last year when he was struggling.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
But
I agree. I think he's at 2. He's absolutely killing him. Because Schwarber, nobody talked.
Schwarber's playing.
We're a week in, but did anybody have Schwarber as the leading team in batting average after 1 week?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think so. Schwarber is thin. If you look at him,
I said the first game.
Me too.
I said he looked like he leaned out a little.
I think I told Meeker that. He looks thin.
He definitely lost some weight for sure.
So I think that's helped him. He's playing well.
Well, he's going the other way with the ball a little bit.
He's playing well.
Yeah, it's funny you said that. Just like you said, Tommy, is he actually said in an interview that he thought last year he just got too much too pull happy. He wants to use more of the field. He doesn't. He's prideful guy, and he knew he hit whatever he hit 190 something last year, 200. And he said, I'm not trying to yank every pitch. When I know there's a pitch that I can, then I'm going to turn on it and I'm going to do my thing. But he wants to be more of a hitter this year. He wants to increase his batting average, and he took ownership of that when I heard an interview with him in the offseason. So hopefully, plus losing some weight, I think, getting a little bit more leaner, and I think that's going to work out for him. Hopefully, if you're going to lead off, you got to get on base.
And another thing is Marsh not playing against left-handers doesn't work. What has he done that proves he can't hit left-handers? Maybe the really tough left-handers, but he hits left-handers. He hit them in the playoffs. He's hit them somewhat. I can't have a lineup where it's Sosa, Pache, and Rojas as my 7, 8, 9 hitter. I can't. I can't have a lineup that way. I can't watch a game that way.
Not going to win.
No.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else before we briefly touch on the Sixers? I know Meeker wanted to touch a little bit on the Sixers before we jump to the horses. Anything to finish off the Phillies?
I just want to bring one more thing up. And maybe I'm going overboard with this, but Aaron Nola could wind up being a problem. because he was not good last year. And he's not good. He was terrible the other day. Like, you just signed him to a long-term contract. If your number 2 pitcher is getting beat around like he's been getting beat around, that's a problem. I don't know about him.
Yeah, I know last year towards the end he fixed the whatever issue he had with the pitch clock and how he was looking, but he's another guy. I mean, the whole team, they don't like when it's cold and all. They stink.
This weather's gross. I mean, I'm not going to blame the weather over how they're playing, but I mean, they had to get out of here. That's the one thing. I mean, get out of this weather for a while.
Yeah, but the Reds played in it the same as the Phillies played in it. And
your eventual number 2 pitcher is not on the roster right now.
That's
hopefully
very
true. It's very true, Chuck, because I'm not a Noah fan at all. But you guys mentioned Castellanos. Now he can't catch a ball because the scoreboard lights are in his face. I mean, what's his problem? I mean, there's always something with that guy.
He's a mistake. He's just
a mistake.
But
and you know what? We get rid of Hoskins, and I know this is second guessing, and I don't like to do that. But I don't believe a guy should lose his job because of an injury. And that's what happened with Hoskins.
Well, I still think they didn't want. I think they wanted Harper to play first base. I don't think they wanted him back in the outfield, and I think that was a big part of it.
That's a big part of it, for sure.
Time you're talking about somebody who can maybe back up Harper in the lineup with power.
I mean, I would have liked to have Hoskins, but I just think they were just unless the Harper not playing the outfield definitely hurts.
I mean, part of the problem is you got 2 outfielders that you'd probably rather have a DH if you had your choice. I mean, Schwarber does DH, but you can't really play him in the outfield. You probably don't want Castellanos playing in the outfield that much. So that's where you're forcing to put a guy like Rojas out there who can't hit because you need some sort of defensive presence. If either of those 2 were serviceable outfielders, you could have taken the risk on keeping Hoskins, but because I think the other part about that whole thing, Meeker has talked about a couple of times. If St. Louis isn't playing well, they have 2 big names there. They might have to look to trade. Maybe the Phillies make a run at Arenado if he becomes available, and you have to go Bohm and some other piece. But he would be your guy to hit behind Harper if either of those guys, either him or Goldschmidt, becomes available. Goldschmidt's not a fit because of the position, but you might have to make a big deal that way.
Yeah, I honestly don't think the leash is gonna be very long on Rojas. I think I don't think you see him in May I definitely don't think you see him in May if this continues. And I don't know if you see him after next week if this continues.
So then does Merrifield become your left fielder?
Yeah, I think they're going to give Merrifield more at-bats. Although he's not done anything either. He's gotten a decent amount of at-bats this year, and he has not looked very good.
I worry about guys that played their whole career as a starting player and then them going to the bench because they're not used to that, and that's a situation. But I know they've been playing him more to start the game, but he's not playing every day, so he's not getting in any kind of rhythm. And then you ask a guy that never really was a pinch hitter to come in and pinch it. That's usually the end of guys' careers sometimes when you ask them to do stuff like that because they just don't perform like they do when they're a starting player, So I worry a little bit about that.
Yeah. All right, let's give Meeker a chance here to mention his Sixers point, and then anybody wants to.
No, my
one
thing was Embiid came back the other night. I didn't even expect him to come back. I mean, he was like a game time decision all the way up to 5:00 at night. I didn't even really put the game on because I didn't think he was going to play. And I turn it on and he's playing, and it was like, okay, so let's see how the big man looks. And look, I mean, if he can put, they can play him 35 to 40 minutes for these next 6 or 7 games, and he's effective, and they get that 7 seed, and they don't have to play in the play-in game, then...
Well, that's 6.
So they have to get the 6. All right, well, let's assume that they get 7 and, they at least get in the playoffs as a 7. Your first round opponent's a team that is completely falling apart in Milwaukee, and they don't reseed, so you're not going to get Boston in round 2. You're going to get the 4-5 in round 2. Who knows? I'm not sitting here excited about it, but we thought the season was over. I was even telling you that I thought maybe they should just keep Joel out for the rest of the year and just forget about this year and move on. But, they're in a position where they could possibly make some noise. Now, of course, they have to stay healthy otherwise, other than Embiid, because they've had their injury problems too. And it's going to take these 7 games for him to click with the rest of the team, because he's coming into a team now that with 3 or 4 new players he didn't play with before he got hurt for all the trades that they've made. So we'll see how it goes. But I don't know. I'm not giving up on the season now. I think that there's a newfound excitement here with Joel coming back, and he didn't look too bad the other night. I think he looked pretty good. I mean, they played a team that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander didn't play. It almost looked like Oklahoma City was just giving him that game. But in the end, I'm not giving up right now. I think I have a little bit of newfound hope. What do you guys think?
I mean, the key is getting set, so whether you finish 7 or 8, either home or away, but beating Miami in that playing game and getting 7. Because if you get 8 and you play the Celtics, you're done.
Right.
So it's 7 gives you a shot to at least get further, maybe even the conference finals, possibly. And they're playing Miami tonight. They have a lead at halftime. So
and the NBA doesn't reseed, right? The NBA doesn't reseed.
No,
correct.
So
that's what I'm saying. They will not get Boston if they get past the first round. So
right. But just quick, say they get whatever 7, they beat the Bucks. Then they play whoever they play, and they win. They go to the conference finals with Boston. Now Embiid's played 5 regular season games and playoff games. I mean, do they have? He's back in the shape you would think, right? But I mean, do they have any shot in a 7-game series against Boston?
Probably not.
I see you shaking. No, Jason, I see you saying maybe.
I think. I mean, everybody forgets that before Embiid got hurt, the Sixers were really good. They were good. So, and the Celtics choke every year. They just do. So, the Sixers have a different mix of players. You have guys like Batum, who he reminds me like a clutch, like playoff player. Guys like that. They just added Heald. He's not playing much now, but I think he'll still be important once they get in the swing of things with Embiid back and all, because he's going to be your spot up shooter. Like Curry used to be and stuff, and Redick, back in the day.
Even the Bellinellis and those
Marco Bellinelli, exactly. He's going to be that kind of shooter. He's going to be wide open, and he can knock those shots down. So, listen, I'll be betting them. I think they have a shot.
Yeah, I heard something too. When Toronto won with Nurse, that lineup was only together for 39 minutes. The lineup, like that playoff starting 5, only played like 39 minutes in the regular season together. And then the playoffs is when they played together. And, now they had Kawhi and they had guys. But, yeah, so, I mean, Nurse showed at least he has the ability to gel. And he made a comment to Lowry. I think Lowry said something about before the last game about, I haven't played with Embiid. And Nurse said, don't worry, just go out there and start playing with him. You'll figure it out. He's
another clutch playoff player. Lowry, I forgot about him. And your point with Nick Nurse. They didn't have Nick Nurse last year, so.
Yeah, anything from Chalky or Jimmy before we wrap this up?
I mean, I think if they draw Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals, I think you have to give them a chance, because they'll have gotten past most likely the 2nd and 3rd seed at that point, which, say what everyone about Milwaukee and Cleveland or whoever else. Look, they can still get 6. I mean, they're only a game and a half behind. The 6, 7, and 8 are very close together. They're a game and a half behind the Heat for 6. So if they win tonight, they'll be, right back up there. But you want to stay out of the 8 slot, because they'll probably, I would say, first round they're losing to Boston in 5 maybe. But if they meet them in the conference finals, it means you'll have won 2 rounds. You'll have gotten past that second round hurdle, which they've played some really good teams, and they lost to a not so good Atlanta team. So that's been the hurdle they get past. So yeah, you do that, and if you do it with impressively, sure, I'll give them a shot against Boston. But it's just, even when they're playing well, they couldn't get the same lineup on the court for games, because Embiid missed a couple games here and there. Maxey had missed a couple games. People were getting sick. You had the trade, the first trade when Harden got traded. So, I'd like to know with Embiid being healthy, how many times they've had the same starting lineup, because it feels like it hasn't been that much. And obviously he missed a huge chunk of the season here. But,
and Maxey didn't even play against.
Yeah. I mean, for them to get to Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals means Embiid has to stay healthy. Embiid has stayed healthy for one playoff round in his career, in the first round at least, and that was the year they got swept by Boston in the bubble year. Every other season, he's either missed a game in the first round or he's gotten hurt in the first round that caused him to miss a game in the second round. So if he can manage to stay healthy, then they'll have a shot against anybody. But I just feel like they might be a little short on time.
Yeah, this could be the NBA's worst nightmare. You sit your big player for, a third of the season, bring him back before the playoffs, get him in shape, and then you go on a run. Maybe that's how they start doing it. Jimmy, anything from you? I gotta imagine you're low on the Sixers.
Well, I'll just say this. Since we're coming out of holy season, blessed be you guys that have not seen and believe, because there's no way in the world that they're going to beat the Celtics. They're lucky to get in as a 7 or 8. Embiid, when he was playing, cannot play 2 games in a row. How is he going to play every other night in a playoff session? He's never got by the second series. There's nothing telling you he's going to get by it again. He's getting older now. He's into his 30s. I'm not so sure, unfortunately for Philadelphia, that when the big man is diminished in the scope of the game, we get the best big man in the world. It's unbelievable how unlucky this town is. And we don't have to go into the draft choices of the Sixers because that'll just baffle your mind. But now that it's a 3-point shooting league, we have the best big man that exists in the league. It's incredible.
Did the Sixers sign Jokic last night or something?
Well, he's still the best. Okay. Jokic is fine, Jimmy. But Meek, you tell me how the Milwaukee Bucks can keep Doc Rivers as a coach. Tell me how that's working out.
That's what I like about them facing them in the first round.
Yeah. It's too late to fire him at this point, I guess. That's
my God, they got rid of a guy 20 games over 500, and Rivers has just dismantled the team. I don't know what he's got on this league that he keeps getting a job, but he stinks.
He's trashing the whole organization. Did you see what he said the other night? Mm-hmm. He said nobody comes prepared to play road games. He's like, it's the attitude of the staff, the players. He's throwing the trainer under the bus, saying that they're not coming to play on the road.
He's a disaster.
Unbelievable.
God. It is a disaster.
It's great. I love it.
All right. Well, we'll say farewell to Meeker.
Yeah, one last thing before I go. So I think this whole tournament has culminated to where Purdue is going to face UConn. They are the 2 best teams in college basketball. Shame on me for not picking them to go to the
wait. Can I interrupt you?
Yeah, sure. What do you want to say?
Final Four?
Nah, not so well. Okay, so we
Do you have any?
I have none left. But anyway, yeah. I mean, look, these are the 2 best college basketball teams. I think that's going to be a great final game. Edey has shown that he is the truth. I'm not sure how good of an NBA player he's going to be, but I said in my 15 minutes worth of NCAA tournament stuff that he was
23 minutes.
Oh, was it 30 minutes? How about that?
23, yeah.
23 minutes. Thanks for correcting me. That he was.
God help us if society crumbles and 1,000 years from now the aliens come down and that's the only tape of society left. And that's 20.
Somehow that was not our highest rated episode. Either way you look at it, our highest YouTube episode was actually last year's Kentucky Derby. That was the most YouTube views. But
anyway, he did prove that he was the best player in college basketball. I said he was under the most pressure, and he's definitely delivered. So we'll see how that game goes because I don't see either one of these teams losing going into the final. So that's it for me.
Now that I know you were 0 for 4, I'm going to have to go back and listen to that segment again of your college, your NCAA predictions.
Well, I had a good go. I had a good go of it up until the last round, and everyone else.
Stop at minute 8. It was pretty good up until that point. Once we get to the Sweet 16, is when I struggled. I mean, none of my teams made to the Final Four either, so
I'd rather start at minute 8 then.
There you go.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right, guys.
All right, Meeker. Thanks for 100 and on to the races. Okay, now on to the Keeneland pick 4, culminating with the Bluegrass. I guess is this your last 3 big prep races for the Derby? I think they throw one extra one in somewhere.
Lexington will be next week, I think, but
this is pretty much it. All right, let's kick it off because we've been running long here, so we got 6 races to cover. So we'll start with the Race 7, Keeneland. It's a mile on the turf, the Appalachian, Grade 2. I thought both these turf races at Keeneland were just, could be mammoth race. They were tough, put it that way. We'll just go around the horn. So I'll start with you, Jason. Typically, we do our top pick, you guys know, and then we'll go back around for second picks or whatever you want to do. But, Jason, start us off.
Yeah, I'm actually going to try and take a shot on a single here. And I'm on the 5, Carriou. Horse won a Group 3 in Ireland, comes here to Sherry DeVoe. I like Sherry DeVoe, especially on turf. And who does she get as the rider? Irad Ortiz. And he just wins on turf. He just does. He's just better than everybody else in this country on turf. So I'm singling Carriou to 5, and I'm going to try and get by just with that horse.
All right, Jimmy D.
Wouldn't single this race, Tom, but I like the inside. I like the little filly on the inside, poolside with Slim. It's another Irish filly, but she fires from the inside. She should be on the pace. There's not a lot of pace in the race. She's improving. Her buyer's figures are improving all the time. She's always in the race. She engages quickly, and sometimes the distance gets to her, but they shorten it up a little bit. So now I think the distance might work just for to her advantage. And I love Brian Hernandez, in Keeneland. So I think that horse has a shot. And I'll stay with that horse, and I'll back it up a little bit later.
All right, Chalky.
It's not a single for me, but my top pick is the 5, Carriou, for everything Jason said.
All right, and I'm actually I was going to try to play against the 5 there. I mean, she's stretching out for the first time, going around 2 turns. Her time form numbers are pretty slow comparative to what time form is. The rule of thumb, you could reduce 15 to 20 points, kind of gives you a buyer sometimes. So they're slow. I thought they were really slow time form numbers, and like I said, stretching out for the first time. You got Irad, so I do think the horse probably goes off as favorite here. But I have 2 horses. I'll give you my top pick. It was the 10 pounds with Cassiano. I mean, you look at the 10 on the outside, 2 for 2 with Cassiano. Cassie and Cassiano can team up pretty well on these turf races. And to Jimmy's point, there's not much speed in the race. So I think the 10 does have some early speed. It's not, she's not going to be on the lead, but I do think she's going to have enough speed to get over pretty easily against some of the slower horses on the inside, sit a nice stalking position, and then, for no pun intended, pounce on the lead, pounce on the horses up front and take over late. So that was my top pick, and I'll give my second pick as we come back around. Jason, you said you were singling the 5. Did you have any other opinions? Maybe not use on a ticket, but somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm just going to try to get by on the 5. I mean, I've just seen Irad win too many turf races where, this race is wide open and this and that, and who wins the race? Irad Ortiz. So I'm trying to get by with just the 5.
All right, how about you, Jimmy D?
I had the 5 in there. It would have been my third choice, for all the reasons you guys said. But I'll give you another outsider. I like La Peru on the 12, Crown Imperial. La Peru makes his living at Keeneland. And that horse in his last 7 starts has hit the board every time. He's right there. I don't like the post, and that's one of the reasons why I don't have him on top. But I think it's a long shot play. If I could put the 1 in there with the 5 and the 12, you got a little trifecta that might have some value.
And Chalky?
The only other horse I have is the 10. As you mentioned, 2 races back, 1 on the lead. But last race, won the Grade 3 coming from behind. So whether that was intentional or not, has some versatility. So even if it doesn't get an easy lead, can probably come as long as it's not too far back. So 10 would be the other choice I use in a multi-race.
Yeah, and for me, the other one was Jimmy D's, the 1, poolside with Slim. So, again, a horse that should be close, if not on the lead. You look at, he gets a run with Luis Saez, wins. He goes to, no, not to speak ill, but he goes to Clown Ruiz. He moves him too early. He falls short. Now he goes to Brian Hernandez. So I think the jockey switched to Hernandez on the rail with some speed. Arnold is another Keeneland, a pretty good Keeneland trainer. So Yeah, the 1 was the other one that I would go with 10.
Tom, he's plus 627 in
All
stake
right, let's
races. Arnold, he's tough in a stake race.
yeah, he's a good trainer, especially on the turf as well. All right, let's move on to race 8, and we'll continue down the horn. It's 7 furlong to Madison. It is a grade 1. Thought the field came up a little bit light for a grade 1, but Jimmy D.
I think you're right, Tom. It is a little light for a grade 1. I'm going from the inside to the outside. I like that bulb of the 8. This is the time where I ride Ortiz with Sherry DeVoe. He just posted a 101 buyer in the last race. It's just a fantastic race under Velasquez. Of course, Velasquez is somewhere else, so he's not riding his horse. But I think it's a little 4-year-old that it could win by open lengths if it runs back to the last race. And it's a 7 furlong race, perfect distance for her. That could be a single for me.
All right, Chalky.
Yeah, top pick 8 as well. Everything Jimmy mentions. 1 at this distance at Keeneland in the greater races, beating some of these horses, and the horses she's lost to in her last 2 years are Maple Leaf Mel, Positon of Sunset, and Pretty Mischievous. All pretty good horses in their own right. So I think it sets up nicely for the 8 in a short field.
All right, and if you go back about 50 seconds, you'd hear my opinion. This is the time I'm going to go with Irad and Sherry DeVal with the 8. As Jimmy D said just less than a minute ago, Chalky, hammered it home too with the horse he lost to. Another one that has potential for a single here for me as well. A couple other horses I did have some interesting thoughts, but the 8 was standout for me. Jason?
Well, I'm going to go too deep, but my top pick is going to be I think there's a lot of speed in the race, so I like the 2 Carpet Ready. It looks like her only bad race is when she folded against Maple Leaf Mel. Who, that horse was a freak. So I think she should sit a good trip off of the 3, 4, and 6, who all look like they should be vying for the lead. So I'm going to make the 2 Red Carpet Ready. You guys mentioned Arnold's a good trainer. I always like Saez, and the horse has got some class. She's been in some pretty good races. Like I said, her only bad one was 2 back, and she met up with a freak and just folded in that race. So I like the 2 Red Carpet Ready.
All right, coming back around the horn, Jimmy D. Anybody else with the Irad's horse?
No, Tommy, I tell you what, I think I would single that horse. I'm going to stay there. I think that's the class of the field, and I don't want to spread too much in that race.
All right, Chalky.
The only other horse I'm going to use here is a little bit of a longer shot, and that's the 7 Yachtine coming in from California, Big Pond, I believe. I just lost my page, but and Jason's going to tell me I'm wrong because he texted me some stats about not using California shippers at Keeneland, but this one it's 20-1. Pratt's jumping on board and made a big move on the sheets last time out, and if she runs back to that 1, she can probably win the race. It may not be possible, but at 20-1, I'll mix her in lightly on a pick 4, but it's mostly the 8.
Yeah, that was a horse that I'm just like and these California numbers sometimes are with short fields. I'm leery about some of those they post. That 1 is just an odd number, but I mean 20-1. Seems outrageous on the horse. I don't know. That's just a ridiculously bad morning line, or there's something about the horse. I don't know, but I would be shocked if it's if it's not single digits. That horse. Shocked.
I mean, it'll get bet just for Pratt, and if nothing else. So but, 20 is probably a long shot, but could be 10.
Yeah, but so I'm not using that horse. That was just an ad. But no, the only other horse is the other the second choice, and only because I do think the IRED is probably going to be a single, but to Jason's point, there is speed, but it's all bad speed. There's not a horse with speed that's any good. And in races where I've seen speed, where the other horses stink, usually the class of the speed is the one that's there in the end. And the 6 is fast, and the 6 has some good sheet numbers. That has run on fast paces and has been able to hold. So Keeneland has like that short stretch, so maybe with a lead in the stretch, she's able to hold off. Because if you look, the other speed is the 4, no good. Red Carpet Ready stalks, so probably won't be on the lead. Hot and Sultry's hit or miss. Seems like every other race that horse has speed. Sterling Silver has no speed. So, like, yeah, a quick glance, it looks like speed, but I wouldn't be surprised if I see the 6 kind of doing it on her own, and the 8 trying to run her down, and maybe just doesn't have enough real estate. So
It looks like the 3 stumbled 2 back, and that's why she didn't go to the lead. So when she's had Santana, she pretty much looks like,
yeah,
she
I
tries
mean,
to
but
get
her early
lead.
pace figures are not nearly as fast as I think the 6 is going to just blaze on the lead, and
Yeah,
that 4 is not going to keep up. So
she's a speed of the speed for sure.
so that would be my only other use. Jason?
Yeah, I mean, you have to use the 8. So I'll definitely be using Vava on my, pick 4 ticket, pick 3, whatever I'm playing. But so 2-8 for me.
Okay, let's move on to the always difficult 5.5 on the turf. Shakertown, it's a grade 2. Chalky, you're up.
So, what's the old saying? Irad doesn't lose on turf. 6, Arzak is going to be my top choice here. Didn't run too badly in the Breeders' Cup turf sprint last time out. Has won at this distance at Keeneland, horse for course, whatever you want to call it, maybe. But I always like to see that. And Irad knows how to win these races. Trombetta's trainer stats not so hot with some of these stakes races, but he does have a 20% and a small sample on the graded stakes for winning. But it was close with another one, which I'm sure that people will like, but I'll use the 6 on top, Arzak.
Yeah, I this is one of those races where I really have no idea, and it's probably going to be a short price where you want it to be a longer price, but I just couldn't really figure it out. I mean, for top pick, I actually went with the 6 too, just because of Irad. If you look back, the horse has run really big off layoffs in the past. Some of the best numbers have been off from the turn of the calendar season to their first race, whatever. So coming off the layoff, Irad should be able to keep the horse right there in striking distance, and he has a pretty good late foot on it. So I didn't find there to be like a ton of speed, especially for a 5.5 turf race. But the horses that have the speed, I didn't find to be very good either. One is like a Gulfstream horse, one is a big odd horse. So, I trust an Irad to keep the horse where he needs to be, and then just kind of take over late as well. Jason?
So I have written down, is it me or is there not a lot of speed in this race?
Yeah, I mean,
right? For me, I'm taking a shot. The 12 to me is the lone speed. The 12, yes, I am. 12-1.
Well, I think you don't think Bad Beat Brian's going to get there.
I mean, he could, but the 12's going to have to gun it from the outside, so he's probably going to get the lead. And I'll take a shot with him as a bomb. Sometimes you get a bomb in these races, and I'm always wanting to pick speed on turf sprints. So I'm definitely not singling the horse, but I'm using the price. I'm using the 12. Yes, I am as my top choice.
The only thing I will tell you is you saw the jockey is not a jockey who, like you said, fires out to the lead in junior. So that's one of them where you can only handicap what you see on paper. You don't know what's going to happen, but I would not be surprised if that horse just gets lost in the shuffle because Junior just gets lazy, coming out of the gate or whatever. But but that could open up to another horse that you might think might be close to lead if that one doesn't go. So, Jimmy D.
I like in that 9th race, as you said, Tommy, that 5.5 turf sprint on the grass at Keeneland is a very, very tough race. And, I'm looking for that 5 and 12 to develop into a little bit of a pace duel, a little bit. I know there's not a lot of speed in this race because I'm looking towards the 3. I'm looking for Appleby's horse, Mischief Magic. If you look back into his past performances, he won at Keeneland in 22 in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. So he likes to track. He's 1-for-1 at Keeneland. He's run against the best in Great Britain and the best in Saudi Arabia. Charlie Appleby, what can you say? It's him and Aidan O'Brien overseas, and they're the 2 best. Gaffleone is just as good. Well, he's not as good as Irad, but he's good on the turf. So that would be my top choice in race 9.
Yeah, I think that horse is going. A lot of it's just going to come down to I think in these races when there isn't a ton of speed, they stay together. So it makes that finish a cavalry charge, and for the 3 to have to get by everybody, Gaffleon's going to have to definitely bob and weave through some holes to, to find. Maybe he makes a little bit of a move middle of the race to kind of get in a better position, but that's what makes these races tough. Is the best horses don't always win because traffic is a huge part of it. Chalky coming back around for the. Who else did you like?
The only other horse for me would be the 3, and honestly, if Appleby doesn't send he doesn't send horses over just for the hell of it. So this horse obviously should have a shot if he's in form. And but to what you said, Tom, if William Buick was coming over to ride this horse, he probably been my top pick. Buick was able to navigate from being in 12th to win the juvenile turf sprint at Keeneland 2 years ago when we were there. So I don't know if Gaffleon will quite get that done, but to me, he would be the next logical horse, and that would be the only other one I have.
Yeah, I mean, for purpose of just giving out a second pick, I'll give you the 3 as well for the same reasons. But honestly, it might be like a situation where you might want to have all on some ticket because, you just look at horses like Beer Can Man. He's run races that can win this race. Bad Beat Brian, who's been big odds, was second in the Shakertown last year. He's run on the lead and has run races. I'm looking at the Jose's horse in the 9. Looks like a Gulfstream horse, but he's got some speed. Our Shot has speed. Coppola has speed. All these horses that you could, depending on what other jocks do, could get out there and take over. So I really, I'm not going to sit there and give you 7 other horses. So I'll give you the 3 as my other pick, but I think it's open. If those 2 don't win, then throw a dart. It's the rest of the field. Jason?
Yeah, I'm going to spread in this race, so I'm going to definitely use the 6 Zach. I mean, again, IRAD turf, you have to use. I'm going to use the Appleby horse, the 3 Mischief Magic. Horse, has some talent for sure, so got to throw him into the mix. And then I'm going to use that 9 Panther Island. So I got 2 Laura Cazares horses in this race, but it's Jose. Like Tommy said, the horse has some speed, likes the distance. Gulfstream Stippers do well at Keeneland. Why not?
All right, and I think Jimmy D, right?
Yeah,
we just come back to you for your final
I
thoughts.
think I would throw in for maybe a tertiary, position. He's been on the board 12 times. He's just a hard hitter. He's not as good as these other horses, but given this kind of cavalry charge that we're going to get, he just might get in there, and that's a 10-1 shot. The 10 horse, our Shot. It's Terranova, who in these kind of races he always brings a horse that's alive, and Castellano rode this horse a couple times. I'm lukewarm on him, but to get on the board, I think he's worth the play in the tries and the exotics.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the feature, race 10, mile and an 8th, the Bluegrass, prep for the Derby. So I am up, so I'll go first here. So I will say my top pick's going to be the 6, just a touch with Brad Cox. Maybe you guys know something he moves him from he runs into Gotham, runs second to a horse coming off a layoff. It's a mile race, so it's the Aqueduct is a little weird. But he comes back to Keeneland where that Aqueduct race didn't really come up like super strong, and it's not like deterministic is a monster. So, I feel like Brad Cox wants this. These are the races that he wants. He won it. Did he win it last year with didn't he win it last year?
No, Pletcher won last year.
I don't even remember who won.
Tapit Trice.
Did his horse scratch or something? He had like a horse, but he won it the other year, or he had second. I forget. But these are the races. Cox is a this is the area that he wants to run these races. Horse caught slop in both times, ran well both times, took the laces off, ran well against deterministic, stretching out for now his 3rd start. And I can see the biggest improvement. He needs the points, so he's got to be keyed up for this race. A horse like Dornach or whatever his name is, Sierra Leone, maybe doesn't need the race. And Sierra Leone's going to be a horse that has to come from far back. So, I'm going with the 6, Brad Cox, here in the Bluegrass. Jason?
Yeah, I think the key to this race is Brown has three horses, and that, to me, they all run different styles. Like, I think he'll want the 5 Good Money to show speed, to keep the 4 Door Knock honest. I mean, and it is a tough race, but I'm going to take a shot on the 6 Just a Touch for Cox and Giroux. I think he's going to sit a nice stalking trip off of 4 and 5. Deterministic, Tom. He's pretty highly regarded. Like I know a lot of people really like that horse, and he's running in the Wood, which we'll talk about soon. But so I don't think it's it was a bad thing for him to lose to that horse. And Just a Touch has run 2 races on wet, on slop, or whatever. So maybe he just hasn't gotten a good course yet to show his talent. So I definitely think there's value there. The 10 Sierra Leone is just a dead closer. I just don't like closers on dirt. I just, unless it's a really, really, really good horse, I try to shy away from that. So 6 Just a Touch is going to be my top pick.
All right, Jimmy
I
D.
don't want to be repetitive. I know this is a race that's going to be bet between Dornoch and Sierra Leone, but I love the 6 horse. For a lot of the reason you guys already mentioned, I respect his speed figures. He's coming in from slot races out of Justify. He's lightly raced. He's going to love stretching out at Keeneland. Ferrant Giroux is the perfect rider for him in this situation. I think this is made for him, this race. He's fresh. He's going to come running. I love the 6 in this race.
All right, Chalky, make it a superfecta here.
It is not. I am going with the other Brown, the 5 Good Money. 3rd race out, Brown threw him into the deep water last time.
Open up the book for this one, okay.
With Tampa Bay, ran a Tampa Bay Derby, and he in his 2nd race out, first round 2 turns, had the lead and weakened a little bit at the end, but only lost. It was a 4-horse photo, almost lost by 3/4 of a length to Domestic Product and Grandmother First, who actually didn't run terrible his last out. And I Sierra Leone is very impressive, but his style to me just doesn't fit to pick him on top. And then after that Tampa Bay finish, Brown has come back with 2 nice works down at pace and 4 furlongs, second of 44, and then fires the bullet last week. So I think the horse is ready to run. Maybe he's not good enough, but if you get close to 20-1, I'm willing to take a shot. So I'll put Good Money, the 5, on top.
Yeah, all right, coming back. I mean, I'm actually singling the 6 in my picks here because I just don't. I mean, adding in some of the other favorites doesn't do much. I mean, Good Money to me, I thought was in the race to keep Dornoch honest, like Jason said. Didn't see as a win candidate. And then if you look at Sierra Leone, having the 10 post, so Gaffleone's going to have to make a decision. Does he get him out of the gate and kind of get him in good position, take him a little bit out of his style, right? So he has to use a little speed to get him in whatever mid pack to the rail. He doesn't want to go wide. That he might lose that late kick. You see that a lot in closers. Or he just lets him lope out there, and now he's got to pass 9 horses coming around that short stretch of Keeneland, with good horses on the front end. So I don't see Sierra Leone winning the race at all. I would be dead against that horse for that reason. But Just a Touch was going to be a single for myself. Jason?
So yeah, I'm also single and Just a Touch for 6. But I do want to give out exactas since I'm pretty hot. I hit the UAE Derby exacta and I hit the Arkansas Derby exacta last week. So I am going to use 2 horses under the 6. I'm going to use the other Cox, the 11 Encino with Pratt, and I'm going to use the 2 BU, Pletcher and Irad. So taking a shot on that exacta.
All right, Jimmy D.
I'd go away from Dornoch, and I'd certainly go away from Sierra Leone. I too would like, if I was backing this up, BU the 2 horse. I'd like Pletcher. He's sneaky good, and I think he might get a piece of that money. He'd be my second choice in that race. But again, the 6 horse I think is a standout.
Okay, and then lastly, Chalky.
I would use the 6 in multis as well. And I, Sierra Leone is good. I just don't think it's going to be conducive. So I would try to beat him. And I'm not big on door knock. I know his speed numbers are similar to Sierra Leone, but I hope he runs well enough to take a lot of money on Derby Day. But I have no interest in that horse moving
He'll
forward.
take money. Jason Worth will bet him.
Yeah. Better keep Terry away from the windows.
And then did you guys have a pick 4 to give out here, Jason?
Yeah, I'm just going to give my horses. What's race 7? I'm going to single to 5. Race 8, I'm going to go 2-8. Race 9, I'm 4 deep. 3, 6, 9, and 12. And then I'm singling the 6 in race 10. So, I mean, if you hit that for $5, or no, hit it for, I guess keep it cheaper. Hit it for 4, make it $32. But there is which they're finally doing stuff like this. There's a big, I forget what they're calling it, a pick 3 with all of the prep races. It's a $3 pick 3.
So Santa Anita, the Wood, and
Wood.
That's neat. Yeah. It's a cool one.
So,
Jimmy D, did you have a multi that you want to give out?
Yeah, a little $27 dollar pick 4. Using the seventh race, I'd use the 1, 5, 12. My single would be in the 8th, with the 8. And the 9th race, tough race, 3, 4, 10. And in the 10th race, as much as I like the 6, I would back them up with the 4 and the 10, who are going to be the money in that field. So 4, 6, 10 in the last leg. It's a $27 play for $1. Hopefully it'd come back north of about 500.
And Chalky?
So for me, it'd be 5-10 with 7-8 with 3-6 with 5-6. That's 16 for $1.
All right, let's move on to Aqueduct here. So we got the Wood Memorial, and I don't know, just quickly looking. Anybody have any idea what the times are? So Wood is, I'm guessing the Wood's first, Bluegrass second, and Santa Anita
Wood should be about 407. I think it's
yes.
The Wood's 407. Yeah.
So
Wood is 407, Keeneland's 552, and Santa Anita I believe is 7-something.
7:30. Yeah. So all right. So just to give you an idea of how they play out throughout the day. So this is the 10th race that Aqueduct has on their card. It's a mile and 1/8. It's the Wood. Has not been conducive to winners of the Derby for quite a while now. Not really even have the Wood horses even factored into the superfecta in the Derby in recent years. I can't even remember.
Really,
I thought there was one a couple years ago that got 4th. It's a closer.
It's been a minute.
Was it the Mirage horse?
It was like a Pletcher horse.
But yeah, I kind of remember that. Maybe Chalky can look it up as well.
4th.
But yeah, Wood just hasn't been a really good prep race. Now, I didn't think this was a strong race. I know Jason alluded to deterministic is sounds like folks are high on him. He's about to run his 3rd race of his career. Jason, we'll start with you. Are you going no further than deterministic?
Yeah, I mean, I handicapped this race to have a lot of speed. I mean, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but it looks like 2, 3, 6, and 7 should all be prominent. So, and I do hate taking closers on the dirt, but I think, not only is the 4 deterministic look like probably the best horse in the field, but he's going to get a setup with all that speed. So, I'm going to single to 4, and then I'll give out my exacta later.
All right, Jimmy D.
I'm going to the inside. I like resilience. I think Johnny V takes a ride. He at Aqueduct. He could have won the Keeneland. He had many opportunities there. He stood here for Mott. I kind of like him. He threw a bullet at Payson, and he threw it out of 47 horses. That's a real bullet. He's improved with his buyers in every race. He's consistent at this distance, and he's trying a little equipment change with blinkers on. I think the 1 can win this race. Again, the Wood Memorial is a shell of itself. It's a grade 2. It probably shouldn't even be graded at this point in time.
Yeah, has it been a grade 2 now for
2 years that
years?
I know of? Yeah,
A couple years
now.
Yeah, got downgraded a couple years ago. I'm on the 1. And if either of these horses that have started twice take a step forward, they'll probably win easily. But Mott's not known obviously to be have his horses firing right away, but the horse has shown progression. It's been around 2 turns. That the distance isn't going to be an issue. I mean, Tuscan Sky, he's beaten. He won a 6-horse race and a 3-horse race. So I mean, his speed figures are what they are, but I'm not going crazy over that. And Deterministic might have had better company, and he's a great stakes winner, but it's 3rd time out, so they'll take a lot of the money. But I'll go Resilience.
Yeah, and for me, I was actually looking for a horse coming in for this race, not a horse running the New York circuit, just because I do downgrade the circuit. So you're looking at 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A bunch of couple of them are slop. Kind of narrowed it down to the 1 and the 9. For my top pick, I'll go with the 9 because it is Pletcher, and Pletcher loves New York. And to counter Jimmy's point, I think that 3-horse race is going to turn people off of the horse for that reason. And I think sometimes you find a horse that has a lot of talent ran in a race with crap field, so they look for excuses to say. But the horse just, so you get a little bit better odds because of that. So I think this is a good racehorse. He's trying to do the same thing that Deterministic is doing with his 3rd start of his career.
To your point, I think Nash is a decent horse. The horse that ran 2nd in that last race. So it's not like he was against a bunch of pigs.
3
but
horses. I mean,
it is right.
Point, you definitely, and sometimes speed figures can be deceiving with those races as well. But I think you're gonna get a little bit better of the 4-1. So my top pick was Tuscan Sky. Jason, where else besides Deterministic were you thinking?
I'm going to single Deterministic, but I'm going to play an Exacta, and I'm going to use the 1 Resilience. I'm going to use the 2 El Grande O. Looks like he likes getting 2nd. He's going to show speed. He might hang up there for 2nd. And I'm going to throw in that 8 Alasian Meadows for Mott and Lescano. I think the horse should probably might be coming at the end and might clunk up for 2nd. So 4 over 128 will be my Exacta.
Jimmy D.
Sleeper horse that I'm going to give you only because I've heard him talk about it over and over again as one of his best horses, named after his brother, his Uncle Heavy. It's the local horse. It's Bobby Reed's horse. Sanchez goes up there to ride him. He won the Withers there in the slop, but Reed is real high on this. It's the best in his barn, and this is his shot. I don't like the post. I think it hinders him big time to 13, but he's going to be trying like the son of a gun.
I'm going to throw him into my Exacta. I missed him.
How about you, Chalky?
With all due respect to Butch Reed, best in his barn, maybe faint praise on some days, but I would put the 2 logical horses, key them 2nd underneath the 1 and a try, and for 3rd, I would go 2, 5, 7, and also the 13.
Yeah, not much different. So I might stick with just the 9 on top. Like I said, I could see the 1 flip flop in there for the win as well. But just say for arguments for my Exacta, I'll stick with the 9. And I'm like you guys. I'm throwing in the 1. The 2 is another gutsy horse that can fight. You could say the 4. I don't really think that's going to pay. So it's probably a waste to make that pick. And then the 13 was Uncle Heavy was the other one that I did think had a little bit of a chance. I thought Safi throwing in the 7, shipping him up here to Aqueduct after running. Wasn't he? He was in one of the races we talked about, and then he scratched out of it. It was the Holy Bull or Fountain of Youth. One of them we did on the show, and then he scratched and he ran in the race beforehand or whatever, which is that optional claim that we're looking at, where Conquest Warrior won. So him bringing him up, I thought was interesting. So that would be another one I throw in. All right, let's wrap up episode 100 to finish with the Santa Anita Derby, and it's only fitting that you finish with a race where 2 of the horses have no chance to even run in the Derby if they get points in this race. For a trainer that has not even allowed in the state at this point, I don't think. It is the 10th race at Santa Anita. It's a mile and a half. It's a Santa Anita Derby. Obviously, I'm talking about Baffert, who still can't run in the Derby, and he has 2 horses in this race. one of which is the favorite. And we're up to Jimmy D to go first, I believe.
Yeah.
So Jimmy D, where do you see the Santa
Well,
Anita
the
Derby?
first thing I'd like to say before we get into his derbies, I really love Cody Rhodes to beat Roman Reigns in WrestleMania. So remember that, just in case people are, just in case we go. Oh,
Got to
just in
find
case
an
we go
offshore
over
book for that, I
on-
think.
Yeah, I
but-
was going to say, I
In
don't
case
have
we
to.
go for on Saturday, at least I've got a kicker in the WrestleMania. I think it's a Baffert race. The only thing that I'm going to be contrarian on is I like the other horse. I like Weinstock. I think J.J. Hernandez getting the mount on this horse. The owner of this horse owns Los Alamitos, so I think that's going to help Baffert's determination. This horse was 163 with his bullet. So it's the real deal. If you put a line through that Southwest where it just was a mess of a race in the mud and he just stopped, and that was Caleb Fry. So, I mean, this horse can run. I know Imagination's going to be the favorite with the Tory. Baffert may run 1-2 in this and get his no points and award the other points to these other dogs in the race. But I think it's a Baffert exacted.
Yeah, so is that what happens in these races? Is Baffert wins, the second place horse
I
gets
think so.
the win points?
No.
Or?
No,
No.
they just
The
get
points
get
are-
whatever points they get for that
They
spot.
earn.
That doesn't
Okay.
slide down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so the horses got to win. So the backup horses aren't playing for the minors if they see a Baffert horse on the lead, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
They're winning.
If Baffert goes 1-2, the third place horse, I believe, only gets third place points.
25 points.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Got it.
I think so. Yeah.
Chalky, go ahead.
So I actually didn't catch that, Jimmy. You point out the owner on the 5 because he won the Los Alamitos Futurity at 13-1. You usually don't get that kind of odds on Doc Allred horses at Los Alamitos, but my pick lacks imagination, and it is the 4. Baffert's going to win it with one of these two horses because he's just looking to play spoiler, like we talked about last week, and somehow his horse at Oaklawn went off at 2-1, which was a gift, and Dettori was supposed to be retiring, but he keeps hanging around, and he's trying to win some of these races they never got before. And I believe the Santa Anita Derby is one of them. And so Baffert's got him on this horse so he can get a win in the Santa Anita Derby, and he'll win the race. So for imagination.
Okay, and I'm actually going to, Baffert, you can't, I think imagination is the better of the two. It's going to be tough. I guess imagination goes the lead. I wouldn't be surprised if Weinstock does as well. JJ's usually aggressive. He's had a little bit off with Muth last week at the Arkansas race. But I'm actually going to go with the 3 in the D'Amato's horse, Stronghold. Horse comes and wins the Sunland Derby off a layoff for the first start of the year. And I think it's sitting 20th right now in the standings. So still needs points. It's not like the Sunland Derby before where I think it was pretty much you win and you're in the Derby. So this horse is sitting on as a last horse. You get a couple of these horses that like the Wood race, somebody wins that doesn't have points, they move up. The Bluegrass, they move up. So Stronghold still has to win. So he brings him Bracamato. He's gonna sit off the lead. He's gonna get a nice stalking to one of the Bafferts. And maybe even the 2 has a little bit of speed. So I think he gets a good trip. Good young jockey. I think he takes over late and wins the Santa Anita.
Tom, just if I can add this, Tommy, that dam is Spectator, and that sire was Jimmy Creed, and you know who Jimmy Creed sired?
Oh, yeah, that rat.
That's her. You could say it, fellas. You could say it, Casa Creed.
Jason, do you want to give your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm just, I just think the 4 Imagination, it looks like he lays over the field to me. I just think he looks like the best horse. He'll have to win off the pace, though, which could be an issue for the first time. Because I think the 8, EJ won the Cup, who I assume that's Eric Johnson's horse on the Flyers.
Is it?
Is that right? Chalky, you should probably know that.
It would make sense, but I don't know that for a fact.
Yeah, I think it is. But I'm thinking he's going to go to the lead.
Yeah,
so he's going to have.
He could too. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to have to stalk off of there, but I just think he's probably the best horse in the race. I am going to give my exacta later, but I could hold off on that if you want. But I'm going to single to 4.
All right. And Jimmy D, you said you like the other Baffert. Did you have
You're right about
else
Stronghold, Tom. He's got 25 points, and I think he's 21st on the list. He needs these points to get in if he's going to get in. That's why, Phil Mott brought him here. But I think he's still a Baffert exact.
Chalky?
Yeah, I would actually take the 3 next, but I mean that's so first choice and third choice, not a big exacta, but I do like the 3. Well, no, Winstock's. I'm sorry, Winstock is 8-1, so actually, yeah, that would be the first 2 choices. Stronghold would make sense though if the 4 can't win.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the 3. I have the 3. Baffert. If Baffert wins the race, probably Imagination might even be even money in this race. Yeah, I'm not surprised. So, but could you use Baffert underneath Stronghold? No, I don't think so. Maybe the 2 with Rispoli if you want to play, take a shot with an exacta to get Baffert out of it. I would probably more just look for Stronghold to win, and you're probably getting 3-1 on the horse. So I don't know if I need to even play an exacta because I don't think it'll pay much. But yeah, I mean, Imagination. What can I say? Horses has a really good chance to win as well. Jason.
I kind of agree with Jimmy D. It's probably going to be a Baffert exacta 4 over 5, but I'm going to throw that 6 Tessuto in also for Papa Padromo. Horse looks like he improved a little bit, stretching out and take a shot. I mean, lost to May Moon, who's pretty much a monster. Who I did hear that Baffert said he didn't think he was ready to stretch out, and that's why May Moon's not in this race. But look for that May Moon later in the year. That could be like a Travers horse.
Another one too, if you want it for the minors, the 7 McVeigh. Sheriff brings him slowly. He's already on his 4th race this year. Minor increase in buyers each race. 77, 84, 86. So maybe sitting on a race where he's going to run, mid-90s, which could be good enough for second, third. I heard some good things about that horse in McVeigh as well. So, maybe another horse to keep an eye on for some of the minors. Okay, long show, but it was episode 100. Not much I could have to say. Thanks to Jimmy D for coming on today, as well as Meeker for coming on every week today, specifically 100, and all the guests that we've had throughout the 100 shows, and all the listeners that we hope to get. Not much I could say. Fellas, anything before we sign off?
Tommy, I'll say.
The only thing I'll say is
the only thing I'll say is thanks for having me, and it's really my bad. Jason had asked me to come on the Fountain of Youth. He said our skinny host is going to wants to do the Fountain of Youth. So I flew down to Florida, stood at Boca Raton, and went to the Fountain Blue, waiting for Skinny to show up, but it was the wrong Skinny, so it was my bad.
Yeah.
Jay?
I was just going to add that the Derby, there's one more Derby future this week, and if you at all want to bet fierceness, obviously can't bet them to win, but maybe try exactas because there's a ton of horses. I think there's, 40 horses that are listed. Obviously, it's not going to be 40 horses in the Derby, so you might get some value on
What's his odds now, Jay?
Under fierceness. When I looked earlier, there were 3 to 5. They were being bet at 3 to 5, which obviously is
Wait, was his buyer? Was his buyer like something insane? I didn't see
110.
110.
That's insane.
So obviously, Derby Day, he's probably going to be 2 to 1 at most. But you could get some value on exactas, especially for horses who aren't in the race yet, who you expect to be in the race, and then also horses that are already in the race. So you'll have exacta bets already. So
yeah, but that'll close after these races, correct?
It closes 6:00 on.
So yeah,
let's
say
it closes before the. I believe it closes before the bluegrass. I'll have to check.
5:52 is the bluegrass, right? Isn't that what we said?
I think it's Sunday, Jay. It closes Sunday at 6.
Well, I think they changed it though now. It's definitely Saturday
Really?
night it closes. I'm just not sure what time. Yeah, for this they changed it because they know everybody's going to wait to bed.
Well, yeah,
So
because
they-
now like a horse like Just a Touch, he's not in right now, right? Or
Exactly, you'll
wins
get
the
some value on
Bluegrass.
him.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so it's definitely Saturday night, but I'm not sure what time it closes. But I'm pretty sure it's before all of these races go
Gotcha.
off. So
Okay.
It
Well, thanks.
closes
Episode 100.
Saturday. It says 7 o'clock, maybe
that can't be right.
7
It's
p.m.
definitely Saturday, but
So
It says
maybe it would be
it says SA
before the
4
game.
p.m. I thought they meant Santa Anita 4 p.m. Maybe it just means Saturday at 4. So 4
Saturday
would be
4 p.m.
before even the
All
Wood
the prep races.
as the early
Yeah,
races.
that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, it would make sense to mix them in with some of the horses you liked in either the Wood,
Yeah.
or Bluegrass, or Santa Anita.
Yep.
Good info. All right, episode 100, Broad Street Hustle. Next week, we'll be broadcasting on Wednesday for the Masters. We'll have Kevin back as our special guest. Always our fun shows. So have a good night.
Thanks, guys.